Hey, what's up everybody? In this video tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at how to create our set of working drawings for our table assembly that is connected to our hot chocolate mug assembly project. So what you need to first do is obviously get your table done. It's going to be a tabletop. You have your column or pedestal, and then you have your legs at the bottom. Please note that all these dimensions or just overall dimensions that you can sort of follow can be found out there on Google Classroom. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfectly exact like mine. It's your own design, so make the table the way that you want. Once your table is done and it's been joined together and you have all your parts, the correct material has been applied, which in this case should be wood oak, we're going to be ready for our drawing. So with the assembly open, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here and switch from my design over into my drawing environment. So I'm going to pick from drawing from design, come to my template, which should be my IED title block, and I'm going to say OK. Once I have that, we're going to see our title block comes in, and we're also going to be seeing that our assembly comes in. So I'm going to come over, I'm going to be selecting the best front view, okay, for my assembly. So I might be bumping this 1 to 10, I think it's going to have to be 16. So 1 to 16. And if it's not showing, a view that's looking like this, remember you have your orientation. You can change that up, so that would be the top. But in my case, it's going to be my front view. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pick it to place it and say OK. All right, so there's my front view. Now I can come up and go to projected. I can pick on my home view and then come over here and select this for my isometric view. I can double click on the isometric view and I can make this shaded. I can say close. All right, so we have, somewhat of a multi-view, a front and a top, okay, and the ISO. All right, so what we need to do now is start adding our dimensions. So just your general dimensions, your X, Y, and Z's is what we're needing on this. So I'm going to come out here and go to dimension. I'm going to start from this corner over here for mine, take it all the way to this corner over here, and I'm going to pull this up, and we can see that's approximately about 24 inches. Okay, I'm going to need my overall height, so I can come out here, go to the very top portion of my table, take this to the very bottom portion of my table, bring this over, and if it's not showing up correctly, just move your cursor. You can see how it's going to be an aligned dimension. I want this to be a linear dimension, so it's 38 inches tall. And the last thing I need to do is add what the overall diameter would be for my table. So this is showing that that's 24 inches. All right, so we have our X, our Y, and our Z. All right, so this drawing would be done for me. All right, so that's my overall assembly. Now I need to create a new sheet. So I'm going to come down and pick on the plus sign. That's going to create my new sheet. Now I can come up and go to base view. So now what I'm wanting to do is I want to make a drawing for my actual tabletop, not the entire assembly. So obviously this would not be the best front view for my tabletop. So I'd be switching this from front and going to top. And now I can start adjusting what my scale is. So I'm going to take this to 1 to 10. Maybe even go a little bit more. Let's take this to 1 to 8 maybe. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and pick this to place this in, okay, for my front view. Okay, now the issue that we have right now is if we came out and projected this, it's going to be showing the entire table. All right, we only want our tabletop to be showing up in this case. So over here underneath my table assembly, you're going to see here's all the parts that I use to create my assembly. We also have the ability to come in here and start turning off different parts. So in our case, we only want to keep the tabletop. So I can come out here and poke these other parts in the eye. It's going to turn the visibility off. Okay, and now if you kind of think about it, my tabletop has a ledge to it. All right, so I want to show what this would look like from the inside. So I'm going to use section view. I'm going to pick on my front view, and now I'm going to come in here, tracking off the center. You might have to leave it there just for a second. You can track it up. We're going to start this outside of the view. I'm going to pull this straight down, keep it vertical, and I'm going to go all the way through the object, and I'm going to go beyond the object. So I'm done with that, so I can right-click, and I can say Continue. Now it's going to be giving me my section view, so I'm going to go ahead and pick it to place it, and I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So what I would do is probably pull this up just a little bit so I can grab a hold of this label, and I can pull it up. Okay, personally, I like to double-click on this, and I like to highlight everything and bring this down to a manageable text height, which I'm going to say is 0.125 or maybe 0.1875. Let's go with that. 0.1875. So that text height is a little bit more manageable. And now I can come up here and go to projected, go to my front, bring this up here for my isometric. And now I can go ahead, double click it and turn it shaded. So the overall dimensions on this, okay, would be something like this. I can come out here and say, hey, I want this to be, my diameter of 24, okay, and now we can also come out here and dimension, what my overall depth is going to be for this guy. So here to here, okay, like I said, you can always move your cursor over to make sure it's linear. Okay, so it's 24 by 24 by 2 inches. Okay, you could also go in there and throw in a dimension for the actual, slot, or I'm sorry, the cavity, depth as well. But this is just totally fine on this one. All right, so that one's done. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new sheet. I'm going to come in and create a base view. This is going to be for my pedestal. So this time I'm going to come up here and scale this up. 1:8 is looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and pick it and place it. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to turn off everything except for that pedestal, or what I'm calling column. In my case, I'm going to shut all these down. Okay, and there is my column. Now, if you have an ornate column like this, we probably want to create a section view of that. Now, if it's just a standard, pedestal or column that's going down through the center, you don't have to do the section view, but in my case, you can see how this was turned on a lathe. So I'm going to come in here and create a section view. So picking on section view, I'm now going to be picking on the parent view. And I'm going to start here from the midpoint, hover just a second and pull up, and I'm going to start this out here, send this all the way down, go all the way through the object and beyond the last object line. I'm going to pick it, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say continue. I'm now going to pull this over, say okay. Okay, and now let's see if I can't grab a hold of this guy, and I can pull this up, and I can come in here and I can change that text height to like 0.1875. Oops, let's try that again. 0.1875. There we go. All right, so we have our label for our section view. Okay, now I can go to my projected view, start my parent view. I can pull this up, make this an isometric, double click on it. I can drop my scale down from 1 to 8, maybe to 1 to 10. Okay, pull this down and I could say I want it shaded. Okay, and now that is done. Okay, so in my case, all right, I would say I want to just put in some dimensions. So from here to here, okay, we know what our depth is. Okay, we know, what our overall height is. Okay, and then if we wanted to, we could also come out here and add a dimension in for our width. But in my case, all right, what I can do is just say, hey, this is 4 inches, and at the end of this, I could say TYP, which means it's typical, which means it's not just 4 inches in this direction, it's also going to be 4 inches in this direction. All right, so we have our table leg done. And the last thing we need to do is create our leg. So I'm going to say new sheet. I'm going to come out here, go to my base view. I'm going to have to really bump this up on our scale. Might be taking it to like half. It's going to seem ginormous, but remember, we're going to turn off everything except for that leg at the bottom. So I'm going to come in here and start shutting these down except for the leg that I need, get rid of my tabletop and my column. Okay, there's my leg. I can pull this in. There's my front view. Now I can say I just want to project our top view on it and give me an isometric. I can now double click on this, turn this to shaded, and I can go ahead and bring this down to like, quarter scale. That'd be great. Overall dimensions on this, or overall X, would be from here to here. Okay, make sure that this is going to be a linear dimension. Our overall height would be from here to here. Make sure it's a linear dimension, and our overall for our depth would be from there to there. Okay, and so there you go. So we have 4 different sheets, okay, with all the information that we need for our general dimensions and views. The last thing we need to do is make sure to export this out as a PDF. Okay, and once this comes up, you're just going to say all sheets and the line weights, make sure that's checked and say okay. And now you can go ahead and save this out. But before we do that, honestly, what we should be doing is doing a save and calling this table assembly drawing. Once we do the save, then when we do the export, it's going to know what the name of it is. And then you can export that out, okay, into your computer. Okay, and then that PDF is what you can turn in for the assignment. So there you go, just a quick overview right now of how to create all those sheets, all the views, the shading, the dimensions, section views, all that wonderful stuff. And this is what you're going to have to turn in for your table assembly drawing. So there you go. Good luck. Have fun with that.